All right, so I wanted to do a quick little video about Dalvin Cook because our friend Jackson Law, he did this entire long video about the Miami Dolphins. Can they win the Super Bowl? He goes on and on and on. And there's nothing here about Dalvin Cook. And I even saw some people in the comments. Somebody in the comments said Dalvin Cook somewhere, right? There we go. Somebody in the comments said Dalvin Cook. So Trey will talk about it. Does Dalvin Cook fit this team? Absolutely, he fits this team. If you consider the options that the Dolphins have, I think he actually fits in perfectly. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, both guys have plenty of injury history. And last year, they were both healthy. If we go back, I'll pull up both of these guys first. So if you go back to last year, Jeff Wilson played in 16 games. Has that ever happened before? No. Quite literally has never happened before. If you go to Raheem Mostert, he played in 16 games. Has that ever happened before? One time. One time previously, Raheem Mostert played in 16 games. So from a pure health standpoint, Cook fits in. Cook fits in because the guys that they have, both big-time injury risks. Both big-time injury risks. So from that standpoint alone, I think to have a reliable running back like Cook makes a ton of sense. And furthermore, if you're just looking at the roster here, Devin Achane, what an awesome mentor Dalvin Cook would be for a young guy like Achane. I was a big fan of Achane in the past during the pre-draft process. I should have had all these tabs open. I apologize for not doing that. But Achane, I was a big fan of coming into the draft, and mostly because you can't teach that kind of speed. He's a big-time passing threat. Like, this is going to be their Tony Pollard, and he's not going to be Tony Pollard year one. But in terms of like, hey, here's a check down screen. Can we line him up in passing situations? Can we get him a jet sweep? Can we put him in the return game? This guy's going to be a jack of all trade kind of weapon. And to have Dalvin Cook be a mentor for that guy would be absolutely huge. Secondly, this guy still has juice in the tank. Like, yes, Dalvin Cook's starting to age, but he's not in his 30s yet. He'll be 28 next season. And the efficiency here is just unbelievable. We're talking about a guy that his worst efficiency year was last year, and it was 4.4 yards a carry. Like, we're also talking about behind the Vikings. I just want to go back and actually let me do this first. This Miami Dolphins offensive line, it's not perfect. I think even Dolphins fans would admit that. But let's just go over the Vikings because I think their offensive line is actually worse. Garrett Bradbury is horrible. Ezra Cleveland is maybe he turns into something. Ed Ingram was bad last year as a rookie. Darisaul's a hit, and O'Neal's above average. But I think this offensive line is actually worse than what the Dolphins had a year ago or coming into this year. Teron Armstead is better than anybody that the Vikings have. And furthermore, we're talking about implementing Cook into this Miami Dolphins system. We're talking about Cook being coached by Mike McDaniel, the zone running system. He's never had a situation where he's entering this Kyle Shanahan offense. What Cook can be able to do behind this should be better than what he actually could do in Minnesota. And furthermore, Justin Jefferson is great. I'm not denying that. But these guys right here, I mean, you want to talk about speed demons on the outside. This is going to make Cook's life a hell of a lot easier when you got two vertical threats going down the field. I think it's a perfect fit. I think it's a perfect fit, and I think the Miami Dolphins have to seriously consider signing him. And I think they are considering signing him, but this guy has juice in the tank. This guy has juice in the tank, and not only that, I don't think you have to give him 264 carries. There's no reason to give him 264 carries or 200. You can drop this number down to 250, and he's such a weapon in the screen game. He's one of the best running backs that I've ever seen just doing damage in the screen game. Talk about the yardage that he's added up here. Like, you can't replace that. I don't know how the Vikings are going to be able to replace this because Madison's not doing this, the receiving part of it. So from that standpoint alone, just to have Cook as a dump off option for Tua, another perfect scenario. We want to talk about, yes, 7 to 8 million. That's maybe what Cook is looking at. Tom Pelissero was on. I don't know how anybody watches the show, but I think Rich Eisen is an idiot. But idiot's the wrong word. I think Rich Eisen. I don't know how to describe Rich Eisen, but I don't fucking like him. And if anyone wants to read the site, you'll probably find plenty of articles that I have. So we're looking at possible destinations here. The Jets, the Broncos, the Patriots, those seem to be the teams vying for Cook's services. Can we just dispel those and just acknowledge that those aren't going to happen? First and foremost, Cook is from South Florida. He went to school at Florida State. He's from that area. Given the fact that there's no state tax, given the fact that he's from there, it just feels so obvious that he's going to sign with the Dolphins. Secondly, can we just cross off some of these teams from the list? Denver Broncos. Why would you sign with the Denver Broncos? And I know Sean Payton's a new head coach there, but Javonte Williams should be the guy there. Like, and again, if we could pull up, we'll just cross teams off the list here, right? Can we do that? Javonte Williams should be the guy there. And I know he's not healthy, but he should be fine by the midway point of the year. This team's probably not a playoff team in that AFC West. And they just gave Samaje Perine a contract. Does anybody realize the contract they gave? Are they really going to pay a third running back? The Jets. All right, let's pull up the Jets. And again, this is a kind of another situation because like Javonte Williams, you got Breece Hall coming off an ACL, but you already have your running backs with the Jets. Like, where does Cook even fit in here? You got Breece Hall, who they picked basically as a late. He was one of the early picks in the second round, basically a late first round pick. That's the guy they want to build their offense around at the running back position. You already have Michael Carter to be your receiving back. They drafted Abanaconda, I think in the 5th round, right? 4th or 5th round, they picked him. And Zonovan Knight was actually good last year. Like if you go and pull up Zonovan Knight, I actually started him in a couple fantasy leagues. He wasn't bad last year. 300 rushing yards in 7 games. I mean, not the greatest efficiency, but for an undrafted guy at NC State heading into year 2, why wouldn't you just keep Zonovan Knight as your 4th running back? So I'm not sure the Jets make any sense there either. And last but not least, New England Patriots, which, hey, I guess the Patriots would make sense there, right? They like to have multiple running backs, but all indications are that Ramondre Stevenson is going to be the guy. So James White actually just talked about this. Like, he kind of let the cat out of the bag. He has some quotes in here, but they're all in on Ramondre Stevenson. Like, the Patriots, that's their guy. I don't think Cook wants to step into a role where he's not the starter. And listen, I'm not saying either guy is better than the other, but Ramondre Stevenson is who they're building their team around. They want him to be the guy. Does Cook really want to play second fiddle to that? I would guess no. That leaves Miami. And okay, he wants 7 to 8 million. Let's look at the cap, right? They got 13 million in space. They can make that work. I mean, they can move money around if they have to. They got contracts they can move, but they have the cap space to sign him outright. And as long as they're not paying Tua an aggressive quarterback salary, you have a lot of freedom in this league to do kind of whatever you want. As long as if you're not paying a quarterback big quarterback money, you can make things work in this league in terms of signing guys. So that part shouldn't be a concern. So last but not least, from a fantasy perspective, where would I rank Cook if he were to sign with the Dolphins? And again, I kind of talked about this. I think he's going to sign with the Dolphins. I think he's going to sign with the Dolphins. I think this is so easy. And again, all you really want to do here is take more pressure off of Tua. How many screen passes can he dial up for Cook a game? It's just another guy to have in the building. I think it just makes so much sense to sign Dalvin Cook. Last but not least, from a fantasy perspective, where would I rank Cook if he were to sign with the Dolphins. And I would guess all indications are he will sign with the Dolphins. So he's not really ranked here. I assume that's because he's not on a team. I would still rank him anyway, just based off the assumption that he's going to sign with the Dolphins. If I were to rank this based off of fantasy, I probably wouldn't. He definitely has top 10 upside, but I don't think the Dolphins will run him into the ground. Again, they have Mostert, they have Jeff Wilson, they have Achane. I think if Miami is going to sign Cook, they don't want to run him into the ground. They want to make sure that he's healthy for the postseason run. So probably 200 carries instead of 250 would be my guess. That said, again, if you look at the fantasy options here, do I think he can outscore Bijan Robinson? Absolutely. Do I think he can outscore Jonathan Taylor? Absolutely. Do I think he can outscore Josh Jacobs? Yeah. Tony Pollard? Yeah. Breece Hall? I think he's ranked too low, but absolutely is Dalvin Cook a top. Again, I don't know why he's not listed at, oh, there he is, 28th. That's too low. That's too low. And again, I would assume that the rankers will push him up the board as soon as he signs, but they might be a little disrespectful at this point if they're going to rank him 28th because we know he's going to sign at some point. I don't know. Would I rather have him over David Montgomery? Fuck yeah. So I think he has top 10 upside with the opportunity that I don't think you have to actually pick him as a top 10 running back. I don't think he's going to get ranked as a top 10 running back. I think he has every chance to finish that way in fantasy. He should be their touchdown guy. This is going to be a really good offense. As soon as they get in the red zone, they want to take the pressure off of Tua. They don't want him getting any hits. So you want to pound the rock. I think he has a chance to finish as a top 10 back. And again, I'd rather have him over Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, Jahmyr Gibbs. I like Akers over most, so I'm not going to talk about him. But Pierce, like all these guys. And I think the Vikings are going to be worse. I think the Vikings are going to be worse this year. So those are just some quick hitters on Dalvin Cook. I think it makes so much sense that he signs with the Dolphins. And just to go off of Jackson's point, I got one more thing to show you. I don't think Jackson is being a total homer here. I don't think he's being a total homer. In fact, I just had some quick hot takes, some division winners that we should keep an eye on. I think the Packers are going to win the NFC North. I think the Panthers are going to win the NFC South. And I have Miami as the AFC East winner. I think there's some drama going on in Buffalo. And I think once they sign Dalvin Cook, this is a game changer. I think we underestimate how valuable Dalvin Cook is. He's James Cook, except 20 pounds heavier and runs just as fast. And I know James Cook hasn't done anything at the NFL level yet, but this is one of the best running backs in the NFL. I know he's not quite the same. Maybe he lost a half a step, but Dalvin Cook has so much juice left to prove. And he's going to be motivated in Miami. This would be the first time in his life that he actually has a chance to win a Super Bowl. He never had a chance to win a Super Bowl in Minnesota. Everybody on that team hated Kirk Cousins, and they still do. In Miami, Tua's healthy, that team can win the Super Bowl. So all eyes on Dalvin Cook. Let's get a deal done.